Nobody wanted this German Shepherd until the vet held him once, and both lives changed forever. What looked like just another dangerous, unwanted dog turned into something no one expected. The moment her arms wrapped around him, the animal everyone feared went completely silent. And that's when the real danger began. Because this dog wasn't broken, he was hiding a past that powerful people would do anything to erase. Threats turn into attacks, secrets burn in the shadows, and every choice puts her life on the line. Why would someone fight so hard to destroy a dog? And when the truth finally comes out, will it save them both or cost them everything? Drop a comment below and share which part of the world you're tuning in from today. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. The morning sun filtered through the windows of Maple Valley Veterinary Clinic as Dr. Linnea Hart adjusted her stethoscope. The familiar scent of antiseptic and the gentle whir of equipment filled the air as she prepared for what she expected to be another ordinary day. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her blue scrubs showed slight wrinkles from her already busy morning of checking on overnight patients. "Morning rounds done," she muttered to herself, checking off items on her mental list. The clinic was modest but well-maintained, with warm yellow walls that helped nervous pets and their owners feel more at ease. Pictures of success stories, happy pets with their families, lined the hallway, each one representing a small victory in Linnea's career. The sudden sound of heavy boots and raised voices in the reception area caught her attention. Linnea stepped out of the examination room to investigate, her practical shoes squeaking slightly on the freshly mopped floor. Two county workers in dark uniforms stood in the waiting area, struggling with a large metal cage. Inside, a German Shepherd snarled and lunged, making the cage rattle. The dog's fur was matted and dirty, with visible cuts and scrapes across its body. A simple metal tag reading YY3 hung from the cage. "Can I help you?" Linnea asked, maintaining a professional calm despite the chaos unfolding in her waiting room. Her receptionist, Jenny, had backed away from the front desk, eyes wide with concern. The taller of the two workers, a man with graying hair and a stern expression, stepped forward. "Dr. Hart, we're from County Animal Control. This one's scheduled for immediate euthanasia. Dangerous animal case. Multiple reports of aggression." Linnea's heart tightened in her chest. The German Shepherd continued to growl, but she noticed something in its eyes. Not rage, but fear. The dog's posture, though aggressive, spoke of defensive rather than offensive behavior. "I'd like to examine him first," she said firmly, even as Jenny shook her head in warning. "Doc, with all due respect," the second worker spoke up, "this dog's already been evaluated. The paperwork's been filed. We just need you to carry out the order." Linnea stepped closer to the cage, ignoring the nervous shuffling of her staff. The German Shepherd's growls intensified, but she noticed how he pressed himself against the back of the cage rather than charging forward. His ears, though pinned back, showed subtle twitches of uncertainty rather than pure aggression. "Just let me take a look," she insisted, her voice gentle but firm. "Professional courtesy." The county workers exchanged glances before reluctantly setting the cage down. "It's your funeral, Doc," the first worker muttered, stepping back. Linnea approached slowly, keeping her movements deliberate and calm. She could feel everyone's eyes on her as she knelt beside the cage. The German Shepherd's growls became softer, more uncertain. "Hey there, big guy," she murmured, letting him see her hands clearly as she reached for the cage door. "It's okay. You're okay." Jenny's voice came from somewhere behind her. "Dr. Hart, please be careful." Linnea slowly opened the cage door, maintaining eye contact with the dog. His snarling had decreased to a low rumble, and she could see him trembling now. Despite his size and fierce appearance, she recognized the signs of a traumatized animal rather than an aggressive one. With careful movements, she extended her hand, palm up, just inside the cage opening. The German Shepherd's nostrils flared as he caught her scent. His growling ceased, replaced by quick, anxious pants. "That's it," she whispered. "No one's going to hurt you here." Time seemed to slow as the dog took a hesitant step forward. His dark eyes, filled with a complexity of emotions she rarely saw in animals, met hers. In that moment, something passed between them, an understanding that transcended words. The tension in the room was palpable as Linnea slowly reached out to touch the dog's head. Instead of snapping, he went completely still, leaning ever so slightly into her touch. His trembling subsided, and his breathing began to steady. "Well, I'll be damned," one of the county workers breathed. Linnea gently examined the dog's visible injuries, speaking to him in soft, soothing tones. The cuts and scrapes told a story of recent trauma, but what struck her most was how the dog remained calm under her touch, as if recognizing her intention to help. "This dog isn't aggressive," she stated firmly, standing up to face the county workers. "He's traumatized and injured. The behavior you've seen is fear-based response, not inherent aggression." "Ma'am, we have our orders," the first worker began, but Linnea cut him off. "And I have my professional obligation to prevent unnecessary euthanasia. This dog needs treatment and rehabilitation, not death. I'm challenging the county order." The second worker frowned, pulling out a clipboard. "That's not how this works, Doc. The paperwork's already processed. This dog's been declared a danger to the community." Linnea stood her ground, unconsciously positioning herself between the workers and the cage. The German Shepherd, still inside, but now sitting calmly, watched the exchange with alert eyes. "Then I'll file an appeal," she declared. "As the examining veterinarian, I'm stating for the record that this animal shows clear signs of trauma and abuse, and his aggressive behaviors are a direct result of those experiences. He's demonstrated the capacity for calm interaction under proper handling." Jenny had moved closer now, amazed by the dog's transformation. "Dr. Hart's right," she added, gaining courage. "I've never seen anything like this. He's completely different with her." The county workers seemed at a loss, looking between their paperwork and the now calm German Shepherd. The contrast between the snarling beast they'd brought in and the attentive dog now sitting quietly in the cage was stark. "Look," Linnea continued, her voice softer but no less determined. "I understand you have protocols to follow, but I'm asking you to let me take responsibility for this dog. Give me a chance to prove he can be rehabilitated." The first worker ran a hand through his gray hair. "This is irregular, Doc. Way irregular." "Sometimes irregular is necessary," Linnea replied, reaching back to touch the cage gently. The German Shepherd's tail thumped once against the metal floor. "Sometimes we have to trust what we see with our own eyes over what's written on paper." A long moment of silence filled the clinic as the workers considered their options. Finally, the second worker sighed and pulled out his phone. "I'll call it in," he said, "but you'll need to file the proper appeals immediately, and if anything happens, it's on you, Doc." Linnea nodded solemnly. "I understand. I'll take full responsibility." As the worker stepped outside to make his call, Linnea turned back to the German Shepherd. His eyes hadn't left her once during the entire exchange. There was something in those eyes: intelligence, trust, and perhaps a spark of hope. "We're going to figure this out," she promised him softly. "Together." Jenny approached cautiously, clipboard in hand. "What should we call him? We can't just keep calling him YY3. Linnea studied the dog thoughtfully. Despite his battered appearance, there was a dignity about him, a strength that had survived whatever hardships he'd endured. "For now, let's call him Rook," she decided. "Like the chess piece, strong, strategic, capable of surprising moves." The German Shepherd's ears perked at the name, and his tail thumped against the cage floor again. Linnea smiled, feeling a surge of certainty about her decision. Whatever consequences might come from challenging the county order, she knew in her heart She was doing the right thing. The morning sun continued to stream through the windows, now falling directly on Rook's cage, illuminating him in a warm glow. What had started as an ordinary day had transformed into something extraordinary, the beginning of a journey that would change both their lives in ways Linnea couldn't yet imagine. She knelt beside the cage again, and Rook moved forward to press his nose against her hand through the bars. The trust in that simple gesture confirmed everything she'd fought for in the last few minutes. This wasn't just about saving a dog from euthanasia. It was about recognizing the potential for healing and transformation in even the most desperate circumstances. The county worker returned, looking both resigned and slightly amused. "Well, Doc, you've got your chance. The supervisors agreed to a temporary stay while you file your appeal, but you've got 48 hours to get all the paperwork in order." "Thank you," Linnea said sincerely. "I won't waste this opportunity, so..." Her staff began preparing a proper kennel for Rook. Linnea stayed by his cage, already making mental notes about his treatment plan. The road ahead would be challenging, but as she looked into those intelligent eyes once more, she knew they would. Face it together. This moment, this connection had changed everything. In saving Rook, Linnea felt something shift within herself as well, a reminder of why she'd become a veterinarian in the first place. To help those who couldn't help themselves, to see beyond the surface, and to fight for second chances when others had given up. The morning's events had set her on a path of resistance, but it was a path she would walk willingly, with a loyal companion by her side. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the clinic windows as Linnea carefully examined the German Shepherd's left hind leg. Her gentle hands moved methodically over the matted fur, finding spots of tenderness that made the dog wince but not snap. The connection she'd felt earlier remained strong, his dark eyes following her every move with an intelligence that seemed to understand she was trying to help. "There's definitely soft tissue damage here," Linnea announced, addressing Romy Pike, who stood nearby with a clipboard. "And these cuts need proper cleaning and treatment. I'm putting him on a medical hold." Romy nodded vigorously, her round face brightening with approval. "I'll start the paperwork right away." She adjusted her cropped dark hair behind her ears, leaving a smudge of ink on her temple from the pen she was holding. "What should we call him besides YY3? Linnea studied the dog's watchful expression. "Rook," she decided. "He's got that clever look about him, like the chess piece." The dog's ears perked at the name, drawing a smile from both women. From the doorway, Ted, one of the senior technicians, cleared his throat. "Dr. Hart, are you sure about this? The county order was pretty clear." "I'm sure about following proper medical protocol," Linnea replied firmly, though her stomach tightened at the challenge. "No animal should be euthanized without proper examination and documentation of injuries. That's standard procedure." Romy jumped in to support her. "She's right, Ted. Look at him. Does this look like some rabid beast to you?" She gestured at Rook, who was now resting his head on his paws, the picture of docility. Before Ted could respond, the clinic's front door slammed open with enough force to rattle the nearby glass cabinets. Heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway, and a large man burst into the examination room. Bert Malloy filled the doorframe with his imposing presence, his expensive work coat doing little to disguise his scrapyard origins. His weathered face was flushed with anger. "Where's my dog?" he demanded, his voice booming off the sterile walls. "County called and said you're interfering with a legal euthanasia order." Linnea straightened her spine, though her heart raced. "Mr. Malloy, I've placed the dog on a temporary medical hold to treat his injuries. It's within my authority as a licensed veterinarian." "Authority?" Malloy's laugh was harsh. "That dog's dangerous. Already attacked 3 people. I've got the paperwork right here." He slapped a folder against his palm for emphasis. "Were there witnesses to these attacks?" Linnea asked calmly, even as Rook pressed closer to her leg, trembling slightly. "Because his behavior here suggests nothing." Malloy cut her off, taking a step forward. Listen here, Dr. Hart. I've got connections all through this county. One word from me, and your clinic's health inspections might get a lot more thorough. Think about that before you cross me. Romy moved protectively closer to Linnea. Is that a threat, Mr. Malloy? His eyes narrowed. Just stating facts, like the fact that some vets can't afford mistakes. Isn't that right, Dr. Hart? Wasn't there something a few years back? Something about a misdiagnosis? The words hit Linnea like a physical blow. The case he referred to had haunted her, a missed symptom that led to complications. She'd doubled her cautionary measures since then, but the whispers had persisted. Now Malloy was wielding it like a weapon. That's completely irrelevant to this situation, Linnea managed, her voice steady despite the old shame burning in her chest. This dog needs medical attention, and I'm going to provide it. Legally and ethically, that's my obligation. Malloy's face darkened. Your obligation? He stepped closer, his bulk looming over her. Your obligation is to know your place in this town. That dog is evidence in an ongoing investigation, and you're interfering with official county business. Evidence? Of what exactly? Romy demanded, her loyalty overriding any fear of the man. That's none of your concern, Malloy snapped. His gaze locked onto Linnea. You've got 1 hour to put that animal down, or I'll make sure you regret it. Every inspection, every permit renewal, every supplier contract, I've got pull with all of them. By the time I'm done, you'll be lucky to treat goldfish in a carnival booth. Linnea felt Rook press against her legs, solid and warm. The dog's presence steadied her, reminded her why she'd chosen this profession in the first place. Mr. Malloy, I'm going to treat this dog's injuries. I'm going to document everything thoroughly, and if you continue to threaten me or my practice, I'll be happy to have my lawyer present for our next conversation. Your lawyer? Malloy's laugh was ugly. You think some small-town vet can stand up to me? I own half the businesses in this county. The other half owe me favors. You're nothing. I'm a licensed veterinarian upholding medical ethics, Linnea corrected him. Now, unless you have current proof of ownership for this dog, I'll have to ask you to leave. We have other patients to attend to. Malloy's face contorted with rage. He jabbed a finger toward her. You've just made the biggest mistake of your career, Hart. By the time I'm done with you, you'll wish you'd never seen that mutt. He turned on his heel, storming toward the door. At the threshold, he paused. 1 hour. Then you'll learn what real trouble looks like. The door slammed behind him, leaving a ringing silence in the examination room. Linnea's hands were shaking as she reached down to scratch behind Rook's ears. The dog leaned into her touch, offering silent support. That man is a monster, Romy declared, her face flushed with anger. We can't let him win. We won't, Linnea assured her, though her mind was already racing through the possibilities. Malloy had the power to make good on his threats. She knew that. Her small practice operated on thin margins, and any disruption could be devastating. The memory of her past mistake stung fresh, reminding her how quickly reputation could crumble. But, looking down at Rook, seeing the trust in those intelligent eyes, she knew she couldn't back down. Something was wrong here. The dog's injuries, Malloy's threats, the rushed euthanasia order. It all pointed to something darker. Romy, get started on the injury documentation. Photos, measurements, everything. Ted, I need you to pull up our emergency protocols and review our inspection records. If Malloy's planning to cause trouble, we need to be prepared. Her team moved into action, but Linnea remained still for a moment, one hand resting on Rook's head. The dog looked up at her with complete trust, and she made a silent promise to them both. Whatever Malloy had planned, whatever he was trying to hide, she would protect this dog. Her past mistakes had taught her caution, but they'd also taught her the importance of standing firm when she knew she was right. Come on, boy, she said softly to Rook. Let's get you fixed up. The dog's tail wagged gently, and together they moved deeper into the clinic, away from the lingering echo of Malloy's threats, but toward what Linnea knew would be a difficult battle. Ted hesitated at the door. "Dr. Hart, are you sure about this? Malloy's not known for making empty threats." "I'm sure about doing what's right," Linnea answered, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." The morning light filtered through the clinic's windows as Linnea gently cleaned the wounds on the German Shepherd's leg. She had decided to call him Rook. The name just seemed to fit his intelligent, watchful nature. His dark eyes followed, her movements with an alertness that continued to surprise her, especially given his supposedly aggressive background. "Easy there, sweet boy," she murmured, dabbing antiseptic on a particularly nasty scrape. Rook remained perfectly still, only, his eyes moving as he tracked her hands. The more time she spent with him, the less she believed the story about him being dangerous. As she worked, Linnea noticed something peculiar. While organizing supplies, she accidentally knocked over a small bottle of mineral oil. The moment the scent hit the air, Rook's demeanor changed dramatically. His ears perked forward, his nose twitched, and he let out a soft whine while trying to move toward the spill. "What is it, boy?" Linnea watched, fascinated, as Rook's behavior shifted from calm patience to intense focus. She cleaned up the spill with paper towels, and his eyes never left the soaked materials. Later that morning, while sorting through donated blankets, she came across one with a small charred patch, probably from someone's dryer accident. The moment she shook it out, Rook's reaction was even more pronounced. He sat up straight, ears alert, and made the same distinctive whining sound. "That's interesting," Linnea muttered to herself, setting the blanket aside for further observation. Throughout the morning, she began noticing a pattern. Anything with a burnt smell or certain chemical odors seemed to trigger this alert behavior in Rook. Around noon, the clinic's front door chimed. Deputy Calder Boone stepped in, his tall frame filling the doorway. His sheriff's uniform was as neat as always, though his expression carried a hint of concern. "Dr. Hart," he said, removing his hat. "Got a minute?" Linnea straightened up from where she'd been restocking supplies. "Deputy Boone, what brings you by?" "Heard about the situation with Bert Malloy yesterday," he said, his voice carrying a note of professional interest mixed with personal concern. "Thought I should check in, see how things are going." "You mean see if I've given in to his threats?" Linnea asked, managing a small smile despite the tension the memory brought. Calder shook his head. "Actually, I'm more interested in why Malloy's so determined to have this particular dog put down. Been noticing some patterns lately that don't quite add up." Just then, Rook emerged from his kennel area where Linnea had been letting him move, freely within a secured space. The dog approached them calmly, showing none of the aggression described in his paperwork. "That's him?" Calder asked, his eyebrows rising in surprise. "The supposedly vicious animal?" "This is Rook," Linnea said, watching as the dog settled into a perfect sit position, observing them both. "And I'm becoming more convinced every hour that his story isn't what we've been told." As they talked, Calder removed his jacket, which had picked up some metallic residue from a recent investigation at the impound lot. The moment he draped it over a chair, Rook's entire demeanor changed. The dog's nose went up, and he made the same distinctive whining sound Linnea had observed earlier. "Well, would you look at that?" Calder said, watching intently. "You know what this reminds me of?" Linnea shook her head, but something in the deputy's tone caught her attention. "We had a K-9 unit in the county about 2 years back, specialized in arson investigation. The dogs were trained to alert to specific chemical signatures. They had this exact same behavior when they picked up on something. Are you saying?" Linnea started, her mind racing with the implications. Calder knelt down, studying Rook more closely. "There have been a string of suspicious fires across the county over the past few years. Insurance claims paid out, properties conveniently cleared for new development. Never enough evidence to prove anything, but But what? Linnea prompted, though she was beginning to see where this was going. But certain names keep coming up in the periphery, including Bert Malloy's. Calder stood up, brushing off his knees. Mind if I try something? At Linnea's nod, Calder retrieved a small evidence bag from his pocket. Collected this from a scene last week. Fabric with accelerant residue. Wood, you mind if we see how your friend here reacts? Linnea gestured her permission, and Calder carefully opened the bag. The reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Rook's posture changed completely. He went from calm observer to working dog in an instant. His nose worked the air, and he began making the same distinctive whining sound, more insistent this time. That's not aggression, Calder said quietly. That's training. High-level training. This dog isn't some violent stray. He's a detection dog. And I'm betting he found something somebody wanted to keep hidden. Linnea felt her heart racing as the pieces began falling into place. That's why Malloy's so desperate to have him put down. Rook isn't dangerous, he's evidence. Evidence that could blow open half a dozen cold cases, Calder agreed, watching as Rook maintained his alert posture. Question is, what exactly did this dog find, and why was he so thoroughly disappeared into the system? They spent the next hour testing Rook's reactions to different scents. Each time, the dog demonstrated the same precise, trained responses to specific chemical signatures commonly associated with arson. The K9 unit was disbanded about 18 months ago, Calder explained as they worked. Budget cuts officially, but now I'm wondering if there wasn't more to that story. What happens now? Linnea asked, her hand resting protectively on Rook's head. Now, Calder said, we start building a case, but we need to be careful. If Malloy realizes what we've discovered, he didn't need to finish the thought. He's not getting anywhere near Rook, Linnea said firmly. Whatever this dog knows, whatever he found, we're going to protect him and get to the truth. Calder nodded, his expression serious but determined. I'll start pulling old case files, see what connections I can make. Meanwhile, document everything, every reaction, every alert. We're going to need it all. As they talked through the details, Linnea couldn't help but marvel at how differently she now saw the dog beside her. Not a dangerous stray, but a highly trained professional who had likely been silenced for doing his job too well. She thought about all the other animals she'd treated, all the cases she'd seen, and wondered how she'd missed the signs until now. Thank you, she said to Calder as he prepared to leave. For coming by, for seeing what I couldn't quite piece together on my own. Thank you for standing your ground, he replied. If you hadn't refused to put him down, we might never have discovered the truth. He paused at the door, looking back at Rook. Keep him close. Something tells me this is just the beginning. After Calder left, Linnea sat down beside Rook, who leaned against her leg with a soft sigh. Don't worry, she whispered, scratching behind his ears. We're going to figure this out. All of it. The dog looked up at her with those knowing eyes, and she felt the same connection she'd experienced that first day growing stronger. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The morning sunlight streamed through the clinic's windows as Linnea gently cleaned the wounds on Rook's leg. The German shepherd lay quietly on the examination table, his dark eyes following her, every movement with remarkable intelligence. His demeanor was so different from the snarling, aggressive animal described in the county paperwork that Linnea found herself wondering what other misconceptions surrounded this mysterious dog. She noticed something peculiar. Rook's head suddenly lifted, his nostrils flaring as he caught a scent from her lab coat pocket. She had spilled some cleaning solution on it earlier, nothing unusual for a vet's daily routine. But his reaction was anything but ordinary. His entire body tensed, not with aggression, but with what appeared to be focused attention. The clinic's door chimed, and Deputy Calder Boone stepped in, his uniform neat as always despite the early hour. Dr. Hart, he nodded, his eyes immediately drawn to Rook. "How's our patient doing?" "Much better," Linnea replied, unconsciously placing a protective hand on Rook's shoulder. "But something interesting keeps happening. Watch this." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the cloth she'd used to clean up the spill. Rook's reaction was immediate. He sat up straight, nose working the air, and then looked directly at the pocket where she'd stored the cloth. Calder's expression shifted from casual interest to intense focus. "That's not random behavior," he said, stepping closer. "That's trained response if I've ever seen one." "What do you mean?" Linnea asked, though something in her gut told her they were on the verge of a discovery. "I've worked with K9 units before," Calder explained, moving slowly around the table to observe Rook from different angles. "That's an alert pose. He's not just smelling something, he's indicating its presence. What's on that cloth?" "Just some cleaning solution. It's alcohol-based," Linnea answered, her mind racing with possibilities. Calder's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Would you be willing to try something? I have an idea, but we'll need to be methodical about it." Over. The next hour, they devised a simple but effective test. Calder returned to his vehicle and brought back several small, sealed evidence containers. "These are clean, unused ones," he explained, setting them on the counter. "Let's fill them with different substances and see how he responds." Linnea gathered various liquids from around the clinic. Water as a control, rubbing alcohol, acetone from the lab, and mineral oil. They carefully filled each container, making sure they were properly sealed. "Now," Calder instructed, "we'll place them in different locations around the room. If he's what I think he is, his reaction will be consistent and specific." They positioned the containers, then Calder stepped back and gave Rook a simple command. "Search." The transformation in the dog was immediate and remarkable. Gone was the quiet, observant patient. In his place was a working dog, moving with purpose and precision. He methodically worked his way around the room, nose working the air currents. When he reached the container with acetone, he sat immediately, his posture rigid, eyes fixed on the spot. He didn't bark or paw at it. He simply sat and stayed, exactly as a professionally trained detection dog would do. "My God," Linnea whispered, watching as Rook repeated the same precise behavior with the container holding rubbing alcohol. He completely ignored the water and mineral oil containers. "He's an accelerant detection dog," Calder said, his voice filled with quiet certainty. "Trained to find chemicals that could be used to start fires. This isn't just any stray, Dr. Hart. This is a highly trained arson investigation dog." The implications hit Linnea like a physical force. But how did he end up marked for euthanasia? These dogs are valuable. They take months to train, years to perfect their skills. "That's exactly what's been bothering me," Calder replied, kneeling, down to praise Rook, who accepted the attention with professional dignity. "Remember those suspicious fires I mentioned? The ones across the county that never seemed to have enough evidence to investigate properly?" Linnea felt a chill run down her spine. "And Malloy's insistence that Rook be destroyed. A dog like this would be able to detect accelerants long after a fire's been put out," Calder continued, his voice low and serious. "Even after the scene's been cleaned up, he'd be able to follow chemical trails, identify storage locations, find evidence that someone very powerful wouldn't want found," Linnea finished, her hand automatically going to Rook's head, drawing comfort from his solid presence. They spent the next several hours running more tests, documenting everything with meticulous care. Rook performed flawlessly each time, showing no hesitation or uncertainty in his alerts. His training was clearly extensive and deeply ingrained. The level of precision in his responses, Calder observed, reviewing their notes. This isn't just basic training. This dog worked actual cases. He's experienced, which makes his appearance as a dangerous stray even more suspicious. Linnea added, watching as Rook maintained his professional demeanor even during breaks between tests. Someone went to a lot of trouble to discredit him and make him disappear. The partnership that had been tentatively forming between them solidified as they worked. Calder's law enforcement experience complemented Linnea's medical observations, and both of them recognized the gravity of what they were uncovering. "We need to be careful with this information," Calder warned as they finished documenting their findings. "If what we suspect is true, there are people who won't be happy about Rook's real identity coming to light." Linnea nodded, her resolve strengthening. "I won't let them hurt him again," she said firmly. "Whatever his past is, whatever he knows, he's safe here." Calder looked at her with newfound respect. "We'll need to work together on this, quietly. There's more going on here than just one dog's story." As if understanding the weight of the moment, Rook moved to stand between them, his presence a bridge connecting their separate worlds of medicine and law enforcement. His true nature was no longer in question. He was a trained professional, a detector of hidden dangers, and possibly the key to uncovering corruption that reached deep into their community. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the clinic, windows as they carefully packed away their testing materials. Their simple experiment had confirmed what they'd suspected, but it had also cemented something else, a partnership born of shared purpose and growing trust. Whatever came next, they would face it together, with a remarkable dog who had proven himself to be far more than just another stray. The night settled heavily over the veterinary clinic, shadows deepening in every corner. Linnea hadn't planned to work so late, but a last-minute emergency had kept her past normal hours. Now, at nearly 11 o'clock at night, she was finally finishing up her paperwork, with only the soft glow of her desk lamp illuminating the office. Rook lay near her, feet, his head resting on his paws but his ears constantly moving, tracking every small sound. Since confirming his training earlier that day, Linnea had noticed how alert he remained, even when appearing to rest. A soft thud from the back of the building made them both freeze. Rook's head lifted, his entire body tensing. Linnea held her, breath listening. The sound came again, more distinct this time, like someone testing a locked door. "Hello?" she called out, standing slowly. No response came, just another muffled sound, this time from a different direction. Rook rose silently to his feet, his posture shifting from relaxed to vigilant in an instant. The overhead light suddenly went out, plunging the clinic into darkness. Linnea's heart jumped into her throat as she heard the distinct sound of breaking glass from the back door. Rook's low growl vibrated through the darkness. "We need to get out of here," Linnea whispered, fumbling for her phone. Before she could grab it, heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor, multiple sets of feet, moving with purpose. Rook positioned himself between Linnea and the office door, his body rigid with tension. The beam of a flashlight swept past the frosted glass window, and Linnea could make out at least two shadows moving, in the hallway. She backed away slowly, heading for the secondary door that led to the stairwell. It was their best chance at escape. Just as her hand touched the door handle, the office door burst open with a crash. Two masked figures rushed in. The larger one went straight for Rook, swinging what looked like a metal pipe. The dog dodged with remarkable agility immediately, countering with a warning snap that forced the attacker back. The second intruder circled toward Linnea. "Should have listened to Mr. Malloy," a rough voice growled. "Now we do this the hard way." Linnea yanked open the stairwell door and ran through it, her shoes clattering on the metal steps. She could hear pursuit close behind her, the heavy breathing of her attacker getting closer with each step. Halfway down the flight of stairs, a hand grabbed her jacket. She screamed as she was yanked backward, losing her balance, for one terrifying moment. She felt herself tipping toward the stairwell's open side, where a 15-foot drop awaited. A dark blur shot past her, Rook launching himself at her attacker. The impact was tremendous. The man's grip on Linnea's jacket released as he stumbled backward, crying out in pain and surprise. Rook had positioned himself perfectly, his trained precision evident even in combat. But the other attacker hadn't given up. As Linnea regained her footing, she saw the metal pipe swinging toward Rook's exposed side. Without hesitation, the dog shifted, taking the blow that had been aimed at Linnea's head. The sound of the impact made her stomach lurch. Rook yelped, but didn't back down. Instead, he pressed forward, driving both attackers back up the stairs. His presence was commanding, his training evident in every move as he maneuvered to keep them away from Linnea. The sound of approaching sirens cut through the chaos. Someone must have heard the commotion and called the police. The intruders exchanged quick looks before turning and fleeing back up the stairs and through the office. Linnea slid down to sit on the steps, her legs shaking too badly to hold her up. Rook immediately came to her side, pressing against her, despite what must have been significant pain from the blow he'd taken. "You saved my life," she whispered, wrapping her arms around his neck. The dog leaned into her embrace, his solid presence anchoring her as the reality of what had just happened sank in. The attack had made everything crystal clear. This wasn't just about a dog anymore. Malloy was willing to hurt or kill to keep his secrets buried. The evidence Rook could reveal must be devastating to risk such a bold move. As red and blue lights began flashing through the windows and the sound of car doors slamming echoed from outside, Linnea held Rook closer. The bond between them, forged in their first meeting and strengthened through their growing trust, had just been cemented in crisis. They had protected each other when it mattered most. The door above them burst open, and this time it was Deputy Calder Boone's voice calling out, "Dr. Hart, are you down there?" "We're here," she called back, her voice shaky but determined. "We're okay." She looked at Rook, who remained steadfast beside her, alert but calm. "We're both okay." Deputy Calder Boone sat at his desk, surrounded by stacks of dusty file boxes. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as he meticulously worked through years of county records. After the attack at Linnea's clinic, he knew they needed answers about Rook's past, and fast. His eyes burned from hours of reading, but then something caught his attention. A report from 3 years ago detailed the disbanding of several municipal departments due to budget cuts. Among them was the county's K-9 unit. "Hold on," Calder muttered, pulling the file closer. There it was, a list of service dogs and their call signs. His heart started beating faster as he saw it. YY3, Arson Detection Unit. He dug deeper, finding auction records from when the unit was dissolved. Several of the trained dogs had been sold off to private security companies. And there, clear as day, was Malloy's signature on the purchase papers for YY3 and 2 other dogs. Calder grabbed his phone and dialed Linnea's number. "Can you come down to the station? I found something big." 20 minutes later, Linnea rushed into his office, still wearing her clinic scrubs. Rook padded faithfully beside her, his alert eyes scanning the unfamiliar surroundings. "Look at this," Calder said, spreading the documents across his desk. Rook wasn't just any police dog. He was specifically trained for arson detection. His official designation was YY3. Linnea leaned over the papers, her auburn hair falling forward as she read. But if Malloy bought him legally, why try to have him destroyed? Calder pulled out another file. Because 6 months after buying these dogs, Malloy started reporting behavioral issues with YY3 specifically. Said he was aggressive, unsuitable for work. But look at the dates. He laid out a timeline of suspicious fires that had struck various properties in the county, all insured by companies that had contracts with Malloy's security firm. The first complaint about Rook came right after a warehouse fire, Calder explained. Witnesses reported seeing Malloy's security team on site just before the blaze, but nothing was ever proven. Linnea's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Rook wasn't aggressive. He was doing his job. He must have detected accelerants on Malloy's men. Exactly, Calder nodded. Malloy couldn't risk keeping a trained arson detection dog around his operation, but killing him would have raised too many questions, so instead, he branded him as dangerous, Linnea finished, her voice tight with anger. Set him up to be euthanized by the county, the perfect cover-up. Rook sat calmly beside them, his intelligent eyes moving between their faces as they spoke. When Linnea reached down to scratch behind his ears, he leaned into her touch, completely belying the dangerous label Malloy had tried to pin on him. It goes deeper than that, Calder continued, pulling out more papers. Malloy's security company has exclusive contracts with the county for fire investigation. He's been using these contracts to cover his tracks, controlling every aspect of the investigations into fires his own men likely started. Insurance fraud, Linnea breathed. How many properties? At least 12 in the past 2 years, Calder said grimly. Millions in insurance payouts, all while maintaining a legitimate front through his county contracts. They looked at each other, the full scope of Malloy's scheme becoming clear. This wasn't just about one dog anymore. It was about a years-long criminal enterprise that had corrupted county services and endangered countless lives. No wonder he was willing to attack the clinic, Linnea said softly, her hand instinctively going to Rook's head. Rook isn't just a witness. He's evidence of the whole operation. Calder gathered the documents carefully, his jaw set with determination. This is enough to start a formal investigation. With these records and Rook's training history, we can prove Malloy's been orchestrating this whole thing. Rook stood alert beside them, his posture straight and proud. Every inch the professional detection dog he'd been trained to be. His true identity was finally coming to light, along with the dark scheme that had nearly cost him his life. Thus, pieces had fallen into place, revealing a pattern of corruption that stretched back years. What had started as a mystery about one dog's past had uncovered a web of fraud, arson, and abuse of power that would shake the entire county. The morning. Sun cast long shadows across Malloy's warehouse as Linnea and Calder prepared for their carefully planned operation. They had arranged for a routine safety inspection, giving them legitimate access to the property, while other officers discreetly positioned themselves nearby. Remember, Calder said quietly to Linnea, we need to do this by the book. Everything has to be documented perfectly. Linnea nodded, her heart pounding as she held Rook's leash. The German shepherd stood at perfect attention, already focused on his task. They had set up several identical containers throughout the warehouse, some containing accelerants similar to those found at previous fire scenes, others completely clean. As they began the inspection, Rook moved with practiced precision. His training was evident in every step, every controlled movement. He passed the clean containers without interest, but stopped sharply at specific points, sitting and staring intently. The proper alert position for a detection dog. Note the locations, Calder instructed a fellow officer who was recording the proceedings, and the time of each alert. When Malloy arrived, summoned by his staff about the inspection, his face darkened at the sight of Rook. "What's that animal doing here?" he demanded. "Standard safety inspection, Mr. Malloy." Calder replied calmly. "We're using all available resources." Rook's behavior changed subtly as Malloy approached. The dog's posture stiffened, and he turned deliberately toward the businessman. Without any command, he approached Malloy and sat, giving the same clear, alert signal he'd used on the test containers. "He's alerting on your coat, Mr. Malloy," Linnea said, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. "Just like he was trained to do when he detects accelerants." Malloy's face flushed red. "This is ridiculous. That dog was declared dangerous." "That dog," Calder interrupted, "is YY3, a certified arson detection K9. We have his complete service record, including his sale to your security company and the suspicious timing of your complaints about him." The warehouse had grown quiet, with all eyes on the scene unfolding. Rook remained perfectly still, his alert unwavering. In that moment, Linnea felt a surge of pride and vindication. This was what Rook had been trying to tell them all along. "We'll need that coat for evidence, Mr. Malloy," Calder said, along with samples from several locations Rook has identified. As other officers moved in to secure the scene, Linnea watched Malloy's face. Behind his reddened anger, she caught a flash of something else, a cold calculation that made her stomach tighten. They had him cornered, the evidence was clear, but something in his expression told her this wasn't over. Still, she couldn't help feeling a surge of triumph as she watched Rook, standing proud and professional, finally able to do the job he was trained for. They had exposed Malloy's guilt in front of witnesses, with proper documentation and procedures. For the first time since this all began, they had beaten him at his own game. The peace of victory shattered just after midnight. Linnea had stayed late at the clinic, catching up on paperwork while Rook dozed near her desk. The first hint of danger came when Rook's head suddenly lifted, his ears alert. Smoke. The acrid scent crept under the door before she saw it. Linnea's heart jumped into her throat as she grabbed her phone, but the signal was dead. Through the window, she glimpsed a dark figure retreating. Malloy, somehow free and bent on revenge. Flames erupted along the walls with frightening speed. Linnea ran for the kennels, releasing the few overnight patients to safety through the side exit. But as she turned back for her office, a thunderous crack split the air. The ceiling beam came down with devastating force, pinning her legs. "Help!" she screamed. But the roar of the fire drowned her voice. Thick smoke rolled across the ceiling, dropping lower with each passing second. Her lungs burned as she tried to pull free, but the weight was impossible to shift. Rook appeared through, the haze barking frantically. "Go!" she urged him between coughs. "Get out!" Instead, the German Shepherd assessed the situation with eerily human intelligence. He wedged his powerful body beneath the beam, muscles straining as he lifted with all his strength. The pressure on Linnea's legs eased just enough for her to drag herself free. Outside, another drama unfolded. Deputy Calder Boone had arrived, alerted by the glow of flames against the night sky. He confronted Malloy in the parking lot, their shadows dancing in the firelight. "It's over, Malloy!" Calder shouted, drawing his weapon. Malloy charged with the desperate fury of a cornered animal. The two men collided violently, rolling across the pavement. Malloy's greater bulk gave him the advantage as he slammed Calder against a car. Linnea stumbled out of the burning building, Rook at her side. Through smoke-stung eyes, she saw Calder struggling. Her hand found the tranquilizer gun in her lab coat, the same one she used for large animals. With shaking hands, she lined up the shot. The dart struck true, catching Malloy in the shoulder. He staggered, his grip on Calder loosening as the powerful sedative took hold. Within seconds, he crumpled to the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance as fire trucks approached. Linnea sank to her knees, drawing Rook close. His fur was singed, his brave heart pounding against her chest. They had survived by the thinnest margin, saved by the unshakable bond between them. In the days following the fire, the investigation moved swiftly. State police forensics teams combed through the charred remains of Linnea's clinic, collecting samples that would prove crucial in building their case against Malloy. The sting operation footage, safely backed up on Calder's secure server, showed clear evidence of Rook alerting to accelerants on Malloy's clothing and in his warehouse. Fire investigators discovered the same chemical signature at multiple suspicious fire sites across the county, creating an undeniable pattern that pointed directly to Malloy's involvement. The evidence was overwhelming. Detailed financial records revealed a complex web of insurance fraud spanning years, with payouts totaling millions of dollars. Malloy was formally charged with multiple counts of arson, insurance fraud, and animal cruelty. The sight of him being led away in handcuffs drew a crowd outside the county courthouse. His face, once smug with perceived untouchability, now showed the strain of a man watching his empire crumble. But Malloy's arrest was just the beginning. The investigation uncovered a network of complicit county officials who had looked the other way in exchange for kickbacks and favors. Several department heads resigned in disgrace as internal audits exposed years of corruption. The county commissioners implemented strict new oversight measures and reformed the animal control department from the ground up. Local media coverage shifted dramatically. Where they had once repeated Malloy's lies about Rook being dangerous, they now celebrated the former K-9 officer as a hero. Pictures of Rook with Linnea appeared on the front page, telling the story of a brave dog who had exposed corruption and saved lives. For Linnea, watching justice unfold brought a deep sense of vindication. Her clinic was being rebuilt, funded, in part by community donations and insurance money. But more importantly, her professional reputation was restored and strengthened. Other veterinarians and animal welfare advocates sought her advice, recognizing her courage in standing up to systemic abuse. "You were right all along," Calder told her one evening as they watched Rook playing in the sunset. "About him, about everything. Standing your ground didn't just save his life, it helped clean up this whole county." Linnea smiled, watching. Rook's joyful energy. The scars from their ordeal were healing, but the lessons would stay with them forever. Sometimes, she realized, doing the right thing meant standing firm even when everyone else said you were wrong. Her bond with Rook had given her the strength to trust her instincts and fight for what she believed in, restoring not just his freedom, but her own sense of purpose and professional honor. The morning dawned crisp and clear as Linnea stood on, her family's old property at the edge of town, 10 acres of rolling meadow that had been sitting unused since her parents retired to Florida. Now it would become something new, the future site of Heart and Hound Veterinary Center. "What do you think, partner?" she asked Rook, who sat attentively at her side. His new official adoption papers had arrived yesterday, formally changing his designation from YY3 to Rook Hart. The metal tag on his collar caught the morning light, no longer bearing a number, but his true name. The sound of tires on gravel drew their attention. Calder's patrol vehicle pulled up and he stepped out holding something behind his back. Rook's tail wagged in greeting. He'd grown fond of the deputy over their weeks of working together. "I brought something for our hero," Calder said, revealing a hand-tooled leather collar. The warm brown leather was expertly carved with intricate patterns of oak leaves and geometric designs. "Thought he deserved something special, now that he's officially home." Linnea's fingers traced the careful workmanship. "It's beautiful. Where did you find this?" "Made it myself," Calder admitted with a slight flush. "Been working with leather since I was a kid. Never had quite the right project until now." As she helped Rook try on his new collar, their fingers brushed. The touch lingered, charged with unspoken meaning. Their eyes met, and Linnea felt her heart skip. After everything they'd been through together, the investigation, the fire, bringing down Malloy, something deeper had taken root between them. "The contractor should be here soon to discuss plans," Linnea said softly, not stepping away. "But maybe. Would you like to stay? Your insight would be valuable." "I'd like that," Calder replied, his smile warming his eyes. "I'd like that very much." Rook moved between them, pressing against their legs as if giving his approval. Linnea laughed, running her hand over his head. Gone was the frightened, defensive dog who'd first arrived at her clinic. In his place stood a confident, beloved partner who had helped her rediscover her own strength. As they walked the property together discussing plans for examination rooms and recovery kennels, Linnea felt a profound sense of rightness. This was more than just a fresh start. It was a continuation of the journey that had begun the moment she'd first looked into Rook's eyes and chosen to trust her instincts. The future stretched before them, full of promise, a new clinic built. On principles of compassion and justice, a deepening relationship founded on mutual respect and shared purpose, and a partnership with Rook that had transformed all their lives. Thank you for watching. Stories like this remind us who we are. If something touched your heart, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with another story that just might stay with you.